The steam curled around me as the hot water beat down, washing away the exhaustion of a long day. Showers were my sanctuary, the only space that felt completely mine. No noise, no pressure. Just the hum of the water and the silence I craved. That night was no different. I had just rinsed the shampoo from my hair and closed my eyes for a moment when I heard it click. The door creaked open. Hey, is the oh my god. Sorry, Daniel's voice cut through the fog like a blade. The door slammed shut before I could even react, but it was too late. My heart punched against my ribs. Every inch of me went tense. I stood there, frozen under the water, completely exposed in every way. He'd seen me. I don't know for how long, I don't even know what part of me he saw, but that wasn't the point. It was the fact that he had my brother, the one person in this house I was closest to, the one person I never expected that kind of boundary to be broken with. I finished my shower quickly, the heat no longer comforting. My skin was flushed, more from shame than warmth. I dried off, fast, threw on an oversized sweatshirt, and locked myself in my room. There was a knock 10 minutes later. I swear, I didn't know you were in there. His voice was low, full of guilt. I thought you were in the kitchen. I'm sorry. I didn't see much, I promise. I didn't respond. I sat on the edge of my bed, arms wrapped around my knees, staring at the carpet. What could I even say? No big deal. It was a big deal. It wasn't just about nudity. It was about privacy, about how vulnerable I felt, how confused I suddenly was. There was an odd pulse inside me, something I didn't want to name, something electric and unfamiliar. I hated it. Okay, he said through the door after a pause. I'll leave you alone, but I'm really sorry, Emily. His footsteps retreated down the hall. I lay awake for a long time that night, listening to the quiet creaks of our house. Every time I heard his door open or close, my body tensed. We'd never had this kind of tension between us before. We fought over dumb things. We teased. We laughed. But now there was a weird line drawn in the dark. I hated that it happened. But what I hated more was how it made me feel not just embarrassed, but strangely alert, like something inside me had shifted. And once that shift happens, there's no going back to what things were before. The smell of burnt toast filled the kitchen the next morning, along with the usual clatter of spoons against cereal bowls and the distant sound of the news on TV. It was all normal to normal. I slid into my usual seat across from Daniel, but I couldn't look at him. He didn't look at me either. Mom asked if I had a test today. Dad commented on the traffic. Daniel said nothing. And neither did I, but I felt him, his presence like a current under the table, nervous, uncertain, heavy. When I got up to rinse my bowl, his voice followed me. I didn't turn around. Can we talk? He asked quietly, his voice barely audible over the faucet. I didn't answer. I just dried my hands and walked toward the stairs. He followed. Once we were upstairs, he hesitated by my bedroom door. Look, I messed up. I know that, but please don't let this ruin things between us. I finally faced him. His expression was raw, like he hadn't slept either. You didn't mean to walk in, I said, my voice flat. But it still happened. He nodded slowly. I've never felt more awful in my life. I swear, I didn't see anything on purpose. I'd never do that to you. I believed him. And yet, something still felt off. Maybe it was the way he looked at me now, like I was fragile glass instead of his annoying little sister. I don't want things to get weird between us, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You're one of the only people I can actually talk to. That stopped me. What do you mean? He glanced down, embarrassed. College sucks. I don't know what I'm doing most days. Everyone's so fake. I don't even know why I picked my major. I feel like a fraud just walking to class. His voice cracked on the last word, and I blinked. I didn't expect that. Daniel had always seemed sure of himself, cool, confident. The golden boy. I hadn't realized how much of that was performance. I didn't mean to put any of that on you, he added quickly. I miss having someone who sees me. You know, something in my chest softened. He wasn't just apologizing for walking in on me. He was reaching for me in a way he hadn't in years. I sat on my bed and gestured for him to do the same. Okay, I said. Then let's talk. So we did. It started awkward, but soon it flowed real and unfiltered. He talked about his classes, his roommate, the pressure to be perfect. I talked about senior year stress, college apps, and how fake people at school felt to dot by the end of it. I'd forgotten the awkwardness. What stayed with me instead was the honesty. We hadn't had a conversation like that since we were kids, sitting on the floor building Lego cities. And maybe, just maybe, that accident had cracked something open we both didn't know we needed. A few days later, I found Daniel in the backyard, lying flat on the grass, arms spread wide like he was trying to sink into the earth. It was close to midnight, the stars glowing faintly above us. I stood there for a second, unsure whether to disturb him. Then he said, without looking, "I thought you'd be asleep." I walked over and sat down beside him, cross-legged. I couldn't. He turned his head toward me. Even in the dim light, I could see how tired he looked. Dark circles, a tight jaw, eyes red like he'd been holding something in too long. "I'm failing calc," he said. "Probably going to bomb econ too." I lied to mom and dad, told them everything's fine. I didn't say anything. I just let the silence make space. He let out a shaky breath. I keep thinking, what if I'm not who they think I am? What if I'm just pretending to be some version of myself that makes everyone else happy? The words hit something deep in me. I knew that fear. I lived with it, too. "You don't have to pretend with me," I said. That cracked him. He covered his face with both hands, and I heard the soft, muffled sound of him breaking. Not loud sobs, not dramatic, just quiet devastation. The kind that comes when you've held it in for too long and your body finally gives out. "I hate feeling this weak," he whispered. "You're not weak, Daniel," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "You're just tired, and scared, and real." He rolled onto his side and looked at me, eyes shimmering. "You're the only person I've told any of this to." "I'm glad you did," I said. "You don't have to carry it alone." We stayed like that for a long time too. Silhouettes in the grass, bound not by blood but by truth. Something shifted between us that night. Not in some dramatic, movie scene way, but something deep and lasting. The kind of shift that comes from shared vulnerability, from letting the mask slip and still being accepted. From that point on, it wasn't just sibling closeness. It was something more durable, more intentional. He started coming to me when the panic hit. I started going to him when the world felt too loud. We built something together, something that didn't need explaining. He wasn't just my brother anymore. He was my safe place. And somehow, in a strange and unexpected way, it all started with a knock on a bathroom door.